Okay, welcome to the StageLeft Podcast, lifting the veil on the music industry by telling the stories of those with a unique vantage point. On this episode, we chat to songwriter, singer, producer, multi-instrumentalist and drummer of the fun Lovin Criminals, Frank Benbini. As well as drumming for the coolest band on the planet, Frank is also known for his songwriting and incredible vocals as Uncle Frank, whose album Smiles for Miles is one I've been listening to in the last week. Absolutely addicted. I'd urge listeners to go out and check it out. Having appeared on records alongside the likes of Huey Morgan, Roots Maneuver, Suggs, Ali Campbell and Sinead O Connor, we'll be finding out from Frank about the joys and challenges of working with big personalities. We'll also be finding if the rumours are true that he was once a professional dancer and how Frank went about producing an entire album of reggae versions of songs by Prince. It's a pleasure to say our guest today on the StageLeft Podcast is the ludicrously talented Frank Benbini. Thanks for joining us today, Frank. How's it going?
Very good. Great intro. I like it. Thanks.
No worries. So you've just got back from doing a DJ set with Fast in Bournemouth. How'd it go?
Yeah, it was great. It's a bit of a last-minute thing for us, but it went really well. And we're on the bill with the legendary Jazzy Jeff.
I know. He's playing tonight, is that right?
Yeah, he's playing tonight, which was really cool. Yeah, it was the great crowd. They like the music down there, so we had a fun time, even though the weather was shite. But it was great.
Cool. And, you know, when you're doing your DJ set, how are you compiling it? You know, at what point are you kind of working out what you're going to play as you go in, or, you know, in the journey on the way down, or well before that?
Normally, on the way down, it's kind of last minute. I like to whip the crowd up with the mic, kind of MC it as we go along, and get the crowd participation going. And Fast will do the DJ, and then when he wants a break, I'll jump on the decks. But it's, you know, it's like classics, funk, hip hop, bit of old school disco, that kind of thing. Just stuff that you can move around to, you know.
Yeah, and it went down well, yeah.
It went down really well.
Good stuff. Yeah, and I kind of mentioned to you earlier, so I once saw Huey DJ in Bournemouth, and he was kind of playing Scooby Snacks and singing along. And how do you balance playing what you want to play and kind of what the crowd wants to hear? Is that a constant kind of battle?
Yeah, it can be tough sometimes. You know, you start losing the crowd, then you got to dig in your crate and pull out some stonking classic. But generally, a lot of the time, people that come to see us, they kind of already know what they're going to get. They know they're going to get an eclectic thing. We try and bring a bit of a Brooklyn kind of block party vibe to it. So very much classics, maybe a few of the new school in sound and stuff, but generally classics, you know. That's what we normally stick with.
What about when deciding set lists for, say, Fun Lovin Criminals? Like, how are you kind of balancing that up? I know you're playing. You played 4 gigs recently, and you're doing one next week. How does that work? Does Hugh decide that, or is that between all of you?
Oh no, we all decide. Yeah, it's very much it's a three-way thing with everything we do.
Is it easy to kind of decide on a set list with so much
Not
material?
Really. No. Yeah, because there is like 5 studio albums, so there's a lot of material, but. No, I think we have our kind of 10 that we will always play. We're not one of them bands that will not, you know, we're not like Lou Reed. We're not going to get up and not play Walk on the Wild Side. You know, we will play the ones that the crowd want to hear.
Yeah.
But we do like to change it around and throw it in. But, I've got my favourites. Fast has got his, Hughes has got his, so... We mix it up, but we have to agree on it as a 3-piece because, you know, or the show will be shit if we're not all in agreement.
No, but by that time, fast happy with the 9 until it's time to blow, you know. Side the door, we go back to the ride with Frank inside and the lot, and off we drive. See, I hurt my lower lung, but you know, we never get far fussing around with a stolen police car, so we dropped it off, piled in the caddy. Frank was driving, because I had to talk to my man.
I don't know anything about any fucking setup. You can torture me all you want.
Growing up as an 80s kid, I bang crashed into hip hop. So I had the best mix, really. You know, I had the melody from my mum, the rock and roll from my dad, and then the street that I took to with the hip hop and breakdancing. I used to be a b-boy, I used to be a dancer. True, I used to be a professional dancer, but that was more graded dancing. So, you know, ballet, tap, stuff like that.
Really?
Yeah. And then I discovered the hip hop, and then everything that was beat orientated. But since I was 3 years old, I had one of them toy drum kits,
right?
You know, that you can get, and it kind of went from there with the drums, and then I joined a marching band.
What age was that?
I can't remember. It was young. It was young, about 10ish, I think.
Yeah.
I got my first kit around that time as well. I'm probably 8. And then it was just putting on my mum's records and my dad's records and just playing, and then, you know, joining the marching band and doing the dancing, and with the hip hop, it was all entwined. It was all I did, was dance, play music. So, and then going and seeing shows. I mean, I must have been the youngest person ever to go and see the Def Jam tour.
Really?
Yeah. I must have been in there at 9, 10 years old, getting sneaked in.
Who took you?
Some of the people that I used to break dance in the crew with.
Oh, right.
They kind of smuggled me in.
Sneak you in.
Yeah, so seeing Public Enemy and Run DMC and the Beastie Boys back in the late 80s was like unbelievable.
At their
peak.
At their peak.
Yeah, so yeah, that was a big influence. That kind of set me on my way then. But then, you know, being an absolute, and then when it hit like 84 or 85, something like that. Right. Around that time's when I discovered Prince, and then I was like, oh, holy crap, you know, like. This dude, is it a girl? Is it a boy? How's he singing that high? How's he singing that low? You know, they program drums, are they real drums? You know, is that him playing bass and guitar at the same time? I don't know what's going on there. So then that just opened it all up. And then alongside having that pedigree of music I'd been listening to growing up was insane. But when I seen Prince, that's when I was like, oh, so there's love songs as well. I want to write, you know, I want to know, how does he write them love songs? And that triggered off a whole lot of shit for me, that did.
We're sat in the studio now and we're kind of surrounded by, there's a lot of kind of obviously fun Lovin Criminals, but a lot of Prince kind of memorabilia and posts and that kind of thing. And you just told me before we started recording you've been to see him over 50 times.
Yeah, probably, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's great. So big influence on you.
A lot of time, yeah, massive influence.
What specifically would you have taken from listening to one of his records that you've then applied to one of your own records?
Feel. His soul. He's got soul in it, all his music. He can write one hell of a love song, and then in the next song he's like tearing your arse off with like some badass funk, and it's like, whoa, how do you go from that to that? And you see, that's what I've took into Uncle Frank, because like 1 minute you're listening to a hip hop song, next minute you're listening to a love song, and then you're listening to like some jazzy, I don't know what our music is, and that must come from all these influences, you know.
Was that a conscious effort for the last album? Because I met a friend of mine on Friday, and I said that I was interviewing you. I was talking about your album, how good it was, and he went, "What's it like?" And I was absolutely,
I didn't know what to say.
I literally did. I was eventually I just went, just go and listen to it. It's really hard because if you compare, say, Centra Vasco to Shake and Bake to then like something, like they are three completely different styles.
Yeah.
And also, like we'll get onto it in a while, but like your vocal is so kind of versatile as well to go with that. So was that a conscious effort when you recorded the last album? Or was it? Oh, okay.
That's just what we do. One day I'll feel like, you know, I'm one of them guys that like if I watch a film and there's a real sick hip hop jam in the film or something like that, or I hear something on the radio, I'll come in the studio and I'll put it down, and the next day I'll, you know, be listening to an old classic vintage soul song come on, like a love song, and then I'll do that. But a lot of the time it's how I'm feeling as well. You know, if I'm feeling like, you know, if I've just had a big row with my partner, or if we're not getting on, or you know, or something that's touched me like inside, I want to write that. So, but I don't particularly. Our label doesn't tell me what to do. It's kind of let us do what we want to do, which is great. So, but it's hard to sell. That album's really difficult to sell because people like to pigeonhole everything. You know, they like to give it a label and stick it in that box. And yeah, that'll work on that radio station. That'll work. It's like my record. Kind of don't fit anywhere because it's a big mixed bag of snakes, you know. Lift up center, ride in the rain, south the heaven, north the pain, I'm all gravy, baby, south gravy, baby. Lift up center, ride in the rain. Going into my new record that's about to drop in, first single's coming out in October. That's a little bit more focused. So I was having a wild time doing whatever I wanted to do. And then on this one, it's a little bit more polished up, I suppose. It's not so all over the place, but it's still, I still don't want to lose that. You know, if I go from like a disco funk jam, there's still got to be love songs on there.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit more refined, but not too much that it's not Uncle Frank.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Cool. So talk us through, you know, when you were growing up, and you know, you talked about your influences such as Prince. Who's influenced you as a drummer?
number ones always will be John Bonham, just through listening and watching him as a kid with my dad's record collection. Love Roger Taylor because he was a drummer that sang, and the things that he sang were the most difficult piece harmonies in that band. Like it was all.
And you do that now. You do a lot of the harmonies in like Fun Lovin Criminals and the drumming and that.
Yeah, there's a lot of singing. It's pretty much 50-50 that with the Criminals. It's very much a second vocal in the band. Yeah, and that's always what the guys wanted. You know, when they asked me to join, it was like, oh, we really do with some singing input, and it was like, okay, so. That I got from Roger Taylor, and then flamboyance and style and just looking like a badass. I got that from a woman, and that's Sheila Reid.
Unbelievable, fantastical, so collectible, it's lovable, educational.
How did you get involved in Fun Lovin Criminals? Like, were you around that circle beforehand? When you is that right?
Yeah, they were. I played at a gig in the '90s at Rock City in Nottingham, the same night that Fun Lovin did, and I was DJing downstairs, and we met and we became friends ever since then. And then I was making a record with one of my earlier bands, Baby Genius, out in New York at Quad Studios, and it was great. It was like that was like my first serious deal. Was a 2-album deal with an independent label, and we went over to New York to make this record, and we were in Studio 1, Fun Lovin Criminals were in Studio 2, Paul McCartney was in Studio 3, and Coldplay were in Studio 4. So it was like my first time being over there, and we went in the green room to play a game of pool, and you know there's Paul McCartney walking by, and Chris Martin making a cup of some fruit tea or whatever the fuck he drinks, you know. It was like, it was, what the hell, you know, like, kind of caught myself on for a minute. It's like, oh, I'm actually, like, in a proper studio at last, you know. I spent all my youth in, you know, town-led studios and, you know, and then there I am, like, doing this with these big guys. It was like, right, okay, I better go back in and do this well. So I was in the studio there making a record. And obviously I was friends with Fast and Huey. And one day their drummer wasn't there at the time. Mackie wasn't there. I think he'd stayed home to watch the Super Bowl because that was a bit more important to him. And they were like, oh, we've got this track. Do you want to see if you want to, like, just, drummer's not here. It'd be really handy if you could come if you're not doing anything. So yeah, we're down in a minute. So I went down and I was in the studio. And they played me the track, and I had to listen to it. And I was like, "All right, cool. Then do you need to listen to it again?" I said, "No, it's cool. I got it." You know, it was like 16 bars after the guitar solo, and it ends right. And they were like, "Yeah, cool." And so they got the click going. So I went in and just devastated this song, like in one listen.
Devastated.
And then looked through the glass, and then there was just like three jaws open like that. And I was like, "Is that okay?" They were like, "Yeah, it's great." And they actually kept it.
Right. And how did that go down with?
I don't know. I don't know. But then when we come, you know, then I worked for them for about a year, doing a bit of DJing, looking after their drummer because me and him were real good friends, you know. And then about 2 weeks later, I got a phone call saying, you know, Mac he's stepping, he wants to go and do something else. He's a hardcore drummer, like, and real fast metal bass stuff, and he was going to go back into that, and they were like, you know, would you like to join? I said, yeah, I would. So it started there, really.
You mentioned about playing to a click there. A lot of drummers have said to me, like, playing to a click, they always feel a bit tightened up.
Yeah.
It's not the same. You can't kind of lose yourself because you think, oh, you know.
Yeah.
Did you ever have that issue, or like how would you deal with that situation?
That's the biggest that's the biggest thing with when you're playing to a click and that's your gig on a live, like not in the studio. It's like, you know, go wrong in the studio to click, you just restart. Yeah. Live, the trick is, I think any good competent drummer can play to a click, but it's owning the click.
Yeah.
That's if you can play right behind something, and then as you enter the chorus, if you want to step it up, just play slightly in front of the click without it ever going out of time. That's when you're like a Zen master. You know, that takes a few years to get totally down with.
What about kind of feeling loose enough to do it kind of like, so you're not kind of concentrating it the whole time, or even it's almost kind of going into the red light fever syndrome, you know, like red light fever and that kind of thing. What about maintaining kind of like just being relaxed, enjoying it, and not thinking that the click's on or not looking at that red light and it's like, right, this is it?
It's comes from doing it more. You got to do it all the time. You know, you got to do it to the degree where like you don't notice that. You don't notice it at all. You don't even listen for it. You know, you're that like married up with it that it doesn't. You know, it could go off, and sometimes it does, and that's a very scary thing when your technology fails on you and it cuts out through something like a loose wire or something like that. And then when it pops back in and you're still right in the pocket, that's like when people look at you like, yo, you badass. Like, so that's always a pleasing thing. But, you know, it can also depend on how much you've drank just before you've gone on stage, you know. But no, on a serious note, it's practice, you know. It's an old saying, isn't it? Practice makes perfect. And the more you run that and get it into your blood, then the better you are with it. But the actual bending the click, that takes a few years. I didn't want to have a dead end job. I didn't want to, you know, I always had a love for the stage from an early age, whether it be dancing with my crew, break dancing, or even show dancing. Just that admiration you get and that buzz you get from being on the stage and basically like peacock, everyone looking at you and you entertaining them. I mean, it's a fucked up job really when you think about it, because who invites everybody to your job and come and watch me, you know? And then that worry of messing up or not being loved, you know, like when you're doing the thing that you're trying to do your best, it's a weird job. But I think it was just to have, you know, when I first saw Prince, I was like, I want to do that. I want to do that, you know. I don't want to be the norm. I want people to look at me and think, yeah, he's fucking cool, man, like what he does, and have a connection with something that I've made up from nothing. That's the best thing about music. Like, you know, if you're a craftsman, you know, you get a flat pack or you get a bit of wood, don't you, to start with, and that's how you start. When you're writing some music, because if you're writing true music, you don't start with anything. It's just what's in your head. And then to make something up and then perform it in front of a bunch of people and they love it and then they think you look good doing it, well, that's why I do it, you know.
So now that you've got to that level, what is your motivation now?
It's to keep doing it and people keep coming and seeing and interested in what I'm doing. Try not to lose that ever, you know. Trying to better everything I do so keep people interested, keep people wanting to see what Frank's doing. I wonder what Frank's doing. He's always done cool stuff. I want to see what he's doing next. And, you know, there's like that thing where I think, you know, and plus I don't want to go, but I don't ever want a shit job. I had that many shit jobs growing up, trying to get into the industry, that I don't want to do any of them jobs again. So, and I still love it. I love music. You know, I've been doing it a long, long time. You can get bitter and you can get jaded so quick, you know, and record companies and the record business has changed so much and the money's dropped out of it, and etc., etc. But I'm still here, still doing it, still playing shows, still surviving as a musician, and it's fucking hard, man. It is hard.
What are your main concerns about the music industry at the moment, and where do you see the industry in, say, 10 years from now, and then even further in the future from there?
I think it will get better. I think it's already slowly starting to get a bit better. I think, you know, and it's through people like, you know, Prince and people that do real music and put on real shows and don't buy into, like, you know, these the massive corporate thing. I mean, he's come away from that and done it on his own, and it's directly artist to your people, and cut out any middle shit. You know, it's literally, you know, doing shows and making direct access to you rather than all these other things that used to be in the way with big record companies and distribution and stuff like that. It's more direct, but it's still very difficult. It's It's difficult, but I see it getting better because the people really want like true music heroes, and there isn't any at the minute. And the older ones are still putting it there. You know, Prince is still a hero to a lot of people because of his sheer talent and I think that will start coming back. There's so much disposable music at the minute, so much that's smothered, and I think people are seeing through the bullshit and they want to believe into somebody that's real and not some corporate thing that's been had a load of money shoved up it. Do you know what I mean?
On that note, though, what was your reaction? What did you make of when Prince released his album for free to the Daily Mail readers?
I thought that was really clever because then what he did the next 2 weeks is put his
21 shows on,
and they all sold out.
Yeah,
and it's like, well, that's a bit of genius.
He made more money from that tour
Yeah.
than he did from his previous.
Yeah. He put the record out and he was like, if you want to come and see me perform this record, I'm playing in a couple of weeks on all these shows. So it was a bit of genius, I thought. You know.
One thing that's very noticeable watching a lot of kind of coverage when you of when you're playing with Fun Lovin Criminals is you're kind of very centric and you're kind of very much involved, it seems, in kind of like the whole thing. I mean, there's one performance of you playing guitar, playing a bass drum, and doing backing vocals at the same time. You know, it just shows you how versatile you are. How did you feel when you first joined the band about kind of suggesting ideas and being involved in that kind of democratic way?
They were always like, the main reason why they asked me to do it is because they wanted an injection of a third party. The other 2 drummers were just drummers. They didn't really get involved. They didn't songwrite. They didn't sing. They didn't really do that much. Didn't do that, and they wanted it. So from the get-go, they were like, we want you to be proactive by joining us. So if you've got ideas, if you hear a BV, if you hear a melody line that we're not hearing, you know. So that's what I did. You know, on a couple of the records, some of the guitar work's me, it's not Huey. So on a song like Living in the City, that song, which is a real stomp, it's a real big rock riff. That was my riff.
Right,
and
okay.
to show it to such a good guitar player, because I'm not a good guitar player, but I can find it, and I can show somebody and say that, you know, that I'm hearing this, and then he took it and he played it, and you know, so it's very cool like that. We're very, it's kind of open. It's open, you know.
And obviously Huey's a great lyricist and songwriter himself. What's he like to work with in the studio?
He's great. I mean, he can get bored really quick. Like me, I'll sit with something for quite a long time where Huey will want to get in there and kind of get out. You know, he'll burn out quite quick. You know, but that's cool because everyone's different. So I don't mind getting there really early and working till really late night if he comes in, because when he comes in, then he's hot and then he does his thing. So it's kind of cool. Me and Faster Lab Rats, you know, we'll be in there for all day, all night.
Yeah. Because is it right that when you did the last album, Fun Lovin Criminals, he recorded his parts in America and you recorded a lot of it here?
We did a lot of separate stuff. Yeah. A lot of the ideas were here in this room.
Right.
But then we go to bigger studios. Obviously, when we're tracking drums, you know, you need that big studio, that great sound that you need. But majority, like 70%, was coming in, and then we'd finish the rest up. But we were running out of time, so there was a lot of pressure finishing that last, you know, percentage that we needed to get done. So if we go in and write some stuff this time, we're going to do it different. We're just going to all go in at the same time and do it like that. So we're going to change it this time.
So how did it actually work, though, with him in New York? Like, were you writing the vocal parts for him, or was he coming up with them, or were you writing the backing tracks?
No, he always he does the lyrics. You know, if I'm doing my own verses, I'll write my own verse and stuff.
Right.
But he, you know, it'll normally start with Fast doing some backbeat stuff, some programming stuff, and send it to me, and then I'll jump on it with like bass, live brass, BVs, stuff like that. And then we'll send it to Huey, and Huey will send it back with like guitar parts and his lyrics on. And then what he's done, we might mute some stuff because that stuff. So, you know, it's all very much, we're all throwing ingredients in, and then we get together and then we kind of cook it together, kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Obviously, Fast is an amazing bassist. Like, how did you find locking him in a rhythm section when you first started playing with him?
Oh, it's great. And the best thing about Fast is he fucking loves drums. He's got such an admiration for drums, and he's great at programming them. Fucking hell,
I'll cut
late
that
night.
in.
You know? So he's great at putting that together. So he's like, and then he's got all the time for for me, it's just if we're just talking about drums, it's got all the time to get that together. You know, it's like it's really cool, and you know, it's unorthodox. We're all quite unorthodox players. You know, there's loads of session players out there that are probably a lot better than us, but they're not, because they won't come up with what's in our mind. Because if someone's been college and they're trained so well, they're going to always go back to the basics that they've learned. Where if you've never had them basics, you come in from an unorthodox place. So, like, you know, I mean, I remember when we did the Roots Manoeuvre track, like, I walked through, it was like fucking 2 a.m, knackered. We were just about to turn the speakers off. And we got the beat, and we got this nice key line, and, you know, we got this zagazag, this chorus that I kept humming, like, and but we didn't have a real stomping bass line. I went to the toilet and I come back, and as I come back, I just was like humming this thing, and I just put my hand on the keyboard and did this bass line, you know, do 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 do, and that's like, okay, I had to turn everything back on and track it like that. Where if you put them notes together, it's like a really sick bass player wouldn't play that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But because we come in from that unorthodox place, shit works, and then people are like, yo, that's really cool. Well, the reason it's really cool is because it's something that wouldn't really be done.
Though my heart is heavy, it's a bevy of broads. It's where you should be going, it's where they're dealing the cards. The Bronx is up and yo, everyone's down. The center of the universe is sometime now. And how, motherfucker, it's New York City. The rest of you are knuckleheads trying to look pretty. Vacancies range from your soul on up. So count your chips and do the math, or get the fuck out.
We were like 3 brothers, and brothers can fight. You know, probably one story I could tell you, we were playing in Glasgow and it got crazy. And afterwards, you know, we were meant to leave, and 1 or 2 of us had gone back to our rooms and kind of half falling asleep, but we had to leave to drive like over to Dublin to play the next day. Someone had the job of banging on somebody's door to get them out of the room, and once we got on the bus, everybody had the arse, you know, like everyone was starting to fight and stuff, but everyone was drunk, and somewhere along the line, Huey we bashed him up pretty bad, and then we woke up the next morning, and the bus wasn't moving. I was like, surely this bus should be moving. Like, halfway to Dublin, I looked out, and we're still in Glasgow. And as I've looked out the window of the tour bus, it's Glasgow Infirmary. And somehow, like, it was like a 1 millimetre away from his retina, from making him go blind. Like, and he had to do the rest of the tour with like an eye patch on. He looked like the fucking dude from Pirates of the Caribbean. Like,
Shit.
Yeah, so we stopped beating each other up and fighting with each other. So that was pretty rough.
And are you guys that kind of like, can you just park that straight afterwards and just be like, right, this is
you
what
have
happens?
to.
Like, yeah,
you have to. I mean, Huey doesn't really remember what happened, so it's probably the first he'll know about it. But like, yeah, there was a bit of a fight, and someone got kicked in the eye. I don't know if through the kick. I don't know if it was me or if it was Fast. I'm going to say it was Fast. This is the most PC thing to say.
Cool. So yeah,
there's a lot of stories.
Does that come from like a lot of the pressure of touring? Like, do you think
Yeah.
there's a lot? What's the pressures we don't see when you tour?
You just got to leave everything alone that you shouldn't do, you know, and get your rest. Because the minute, and it's like, you know, all bands don't. They all get in it. They all have a blowout. They all have that rock and roll thing, drinking too much, you know, blazing too much, whatever it is, you know, too many late nights eating shit food, all that. And then all that happens is you just deteriorate. As a human being, you just deteriorate. And then you know what it's like when you wake up and you're carrying that hangover and you got to deal with public. You got to deal with like rock and roll and loud instruments, and then someone just says the wrong thing. You turn around, you bite their fucking head straight off. You know, so it's no different in any job. You know, you're going to fall out with people. So they're the things that you should really, really try and stuff. Everyone's going to, you know, if you get in a band and you get your record deal and you tour and you got a big tour bus, playing sold out shows, and there's girls there and there's this and there's that. You know, you're just going to get fucked up. But it's like, all it does is it just puts more pressure on yourself and on your creativeness the next day, because you just feel like shit, you know. And so as you get older, you try and slow that up a bit.
I was going to say, harder when you get older as well.
So, you know, but to keep things, but you want to have fun, but you kind of got to master the controlled fun. Know where to draw a line in the sand, because the next day everything's going to suffer the next day. So you've got to try and remember that.
And have you mastered that yet?
Trying.
Trying real hard.
Trying really hard.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. Let's talk Uncle Frank. Truly brilliant album. I mean, we've done 2 albums. The second one, amazing. You've got a new one coming out, you see.
Yeah.
Let's talk about some of the actual individual songs on there. Centra Vasco.
Mm-hmm.
That is a truly incredible vocal you've done there. Tell us about that song, how that came about. I mean, it's an incredible vocal. And
a funny story with this one. I mean, obviously, I love my crooners. Written that song about 3 weeks after seeing Tony Bennett play over in Dublin. And he dedicated a song to the Lovin Criminals. We were in the balcony. And by the time he finished it, all 3 of us had like tears rolling down our face. It was really beautiful. And then a couple of weeks later, I went and said, I want to do like a big crooner voiced bass song, you know.
You are a diamond, a jewel I never had. Oh, those precious things to call my own, I have never had. If I'm cut, then I am broken. If I mend, I will need that token just from you. I love you. Central Vasco.
What shall I sing it about? So I did this song, Centra Vasco, me and my music partner, Naeem. And I wrote the lyrics, tracked it, did it. And then I was with I went round my mum's for some dinner. And she was like, have you got anything new to play? She always asks. I see I got this song, I think you might like it. And I played it to her. And by the end, she's crying her eyes out because it's like a love song. She went, what's it about? It's about, is it about your daughter? Is it about me? She would say this. And I said, no, it's about my favourite seafood restaurant in New York. And she just looked at me and slapped me around the back of the head. She went, you fucking being serious? And I am being serious. It's about my favourite restaurant in New York, which does the best lobster. And the restaurant's called Centra Vasco.
Really?
Yeah.
Amazing.
We recently...
I was just thinking about you hitting that big long Centra.
That's exactly what my mum did after I told her. She found it really funny. But we recently went there. I took my brother. And they've known about this ever since I wrote that song. Oh, this food must be really good for you to write a love song about the place. And I was like, you wait. And we all went there. And I took a copy and I gave it to the manager and he played it in the restaurant.
Really?
He loved it. Plays it all the time. He emails me. Goes,
where is it? Whereabouts in New York is it?
It's on 28th Street and it's near Chelsea. 28th off Broadway. So, yeah, it's called Centra Vasco. If you look at the place and you'll be like, really, Frank? It's like some really old school... it's not even Italian, even though it sounds all Italian.
Yeah.
It's actually Spanish seafood place, and it's fucking incredible. They do amazing lobster there, and yeah, I wrote it. But obviously, why I'm singing it in my head, I'm obviously imagining some beautiful woman.
Oh, there's some beautiful lobster.
No, I'm obviously to give me that feeling that I've got. Because when you hear that, now I've told people, if people go and listen to it, they'll probably find it really funny. But if I haven't said that before, you'd be like, it's like a song
stunning,
that
man.
someone
It's stunning
would play
vocal.
at someone's funeral or something.
Yep.
It's one of them songs, like a wedding song or something that they want to do their first dance to or something. And then when someone says, it's about where I get
It sounds like a masterclass singing. It's like, do you know Rufus Wainwright stuff at all?
I love his stuff.
Was that influence at all? Because I've kind of got a bit of Rufus Wainwright from that. But
that's cool that you've said that.
Yeah.
But no, mine was more on the Tony Bennett tip.
Right,
I was trying to go for it.
So you think I'm trouble? At least that's what I heard. Would you still like me if you knew I wasn't none? Every night I've been painting a portrait of you.
So yeah, tell us about Something Something, 'cause that's a very different song to...
That was that comes from our love of Walt Disney themes. Love them. It's a big influence. Like when I write, it comes from, a lot of my songs comes from watching films. If I watch a film one night and there's a character in it that I feel bad for, or who makes me want to be that character or something like that, when I go in the studio next day to write, that's normally what I do. I get a lot of that from that. A little tip to songwriters that are struggling, and then the writers, well, if you put on old black and white movies and then mute it, but put the subtitles on, you can get a song like done every day. Just by reading the lyrics, you kind of like, it will influence you. And then you're looking at the pictures and you're reading the lyrics. It's like, it's a great way of writing songs if you ever get a block. So this comes from my love of Walt Disney films and Naeem's. Naeem come in the studio one day, I got this sweet little ditty, like, he played me the rough basics like on a piano, and I loved it. And then I got the melody line, my friends say friend, like that bit, and it's all that, I want to be like you, I want to talk like you. It's all that kind of love it, just beautiful. Like you listen to a song like Something Something, and you can sit back and imagine your own little video, just make your own video up, and that's to me a great song. So really, Something Something come from that, and it's just about having a little something, a little something to yourself. Whether or not that's like, if you share a kiss with your girlfriend and it's just your own thing, or if, you have that silly look, or you have a funny saying that you have for somebody that no one in the rest of the world knows. You can even do it and people are like, don't understand what they just did. But obviously that's their something. Do you know what I mean? That's really what that song's about.
Love it. You've got a very versatile voice. So I've obviously just played a bit of Central Vasco and Something Something. When I heard the chorus of Big Brother, I thought it was a guest vocalist. It sounds so different.
Yeah.
Kind of bit hard.
Yeah.
That bit, yeah. Okay, so in regards to that song, your brother is the drummer in your live band, is that right?
Yeah, he's just knocked the door.
Oh, right, is that right? That was him. Okay, cool. How is it working with a brother in a band, and how do you compartmentalise your relationship as a brother to kind of a bandmate?
That's a great question, that is. It's hard. It's hard being the big brother, because that's really what the fucking song's about, to be honest with you. It is difficult. I mean, when Daryl was first like old enough to even consider him as a drummer, like, or being in a band, because obviously there's a shitload of stuff I wanted to keep him away from, and he started drawing. I taught him his first few beats when he was when he was a baby, when he was little. I used to bounce him on my knee when we were playing drums, and then he got him a little bit of a basic kit, just one up, one down, and then he just started doing his own thing, and then I left him to it, and then he's kind of like me, like then consisted to self-teach himself, but then he's really good on the guitar, and then I sent him earlier, when he was a kid, I sent him for keyboard lessons, so, and then he's just gone strength to strength to strength, and now he writes songs for Iggy Azalea, take that, right? He writes stuff for all the, he's a front liner with writing beats for people.
Wow.
Loads of stuff for CeeLo Green, loads of, he's proper really good.
Cool.
Fucking sick programmer, like next level. And obviously I grew him up on Prince, so he's had a great pedigree, you know what I mean? Like, but yeah, he got old enough to play drum. I remember being in the first rehearsal, I was really harsh with him. But that's just how I am, it's like if you fuck about in an Uncle Frank rehearsal, you'll get shown the door. I always say we'll have fun when you've learnt it all. We don't have fun while we're learning it. Once you've learnt it, then we'll have a laugh. You know what I mean? Like then we can shoulders can go down, and we can start enjoying it and having fun and finding them little moments in songs that you all find as musicians. But until you've got it down, there's no messing about. And I remember once he did something. I was like, I was thinking of doing. I turned around. I said, it's Uncle Frank. Say Uncle Daryl. It's Uncle Frank. So you do it how I want you to do it, or get somebody else to do it. And
Difficult.
I said it in front of everybody. And that is the moment when he's like, all right, well, you're obviously not my brother then. In this 2 hours when we're in this room, you're Frank. And that might sound really harsh. But
necessary though.
It was necessary because then it's like afterwards I'm like, we're back to being brothers, and it's a good lesson because then he went over the 10 years ago he started to do his own band and that, and he was like, I've got a couple of songs I want you to hear, can you come down to rehearsal? Went down, and it was just like watching me. Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, but one thing is it's professional. It's professional, and you have to be professional. You don't have to look like you are when you're in your moment and you're up there. You got to give that impression you're having the time of your life, but everything's faultless. That's what I'm always striving for. I'm not saying that every time I play I'm faultless, because we're not. There's only one person that is, and he's the man. You know what I mean? So, you're striving for that. Where I think even that first lesson that Daryl got, he must have thought, you bastard, when I pulled him up in front of everybody. He knew then from now, and that's like, it's a decade later, that now when we go in the rehearsal room, he knows what to bring. You got to bring your A game.
One particular song you've mentioned in other interviews that you're kind of particularly pleased how it came out, Desperate Town. Big song, that. Again, another incredible vocal on that. How'd that come about, that song? Tell us about that.
Well, that came from watching for like the second time in my life, watching Philadelphia, the film.
Yeah, Tom Hanks, yeah.
Yeah. And I watched that and I was like, I love that song that Bruce did for that track.
Streets of Philadelphia.
Yeah. And I was like, if I was going to write a song for Bruce Springsteen, not that he needs a song from Uncle Frank, but if I was, it would be this one. And it was funny because I went and seen it and I went, tonight, I want to write a song. And he went, I was doing a bit of programming on this beat and he played it really slow, like atmospheric. And I was like, all right, yeah, we could do that. And he just put these chords down. I sang him a melody line, he put the chords under it, and then bang, 5 minutes later we wrote that song. It took us 5 minutes to write that song. It's like one of the best songs. And it was always envisioned to send it to Bruce Springsteen and say, sing this, because you do such a great job on it, And then we got caught up making the rest of the album. Management didn't send it to him. I still want to get it to him, which I will do, because we're over in New York in October, so I'm going to try and get it to his, I know someone knows his PA, so it'd be really great for him to do a version of it, or see if he even likes it, because it was always written for him in mind, not really for us to do. But we kept it, because it's about Leicester, when when all the, all the businesses started closing, we hit that recession about 8 or 9 years ago, quite bad, and a lot of the show, I'd go away on tour and I'd come back and I'd go to my favourite shop that'd be closed down, and I was just looking around thinking, God, what's happening to the town? Like, it's getting a bit depressing, it's getting a bit desperate. Bang, Desperate Town. So that's what we sang about, And we shot the video all around Leicester, some of the parts that have gone downhill. Now they're being what's the word?
I know, you mean gentrified.
Yeah, they're being souped up.
Right, okay.
So I'll use a street word. They're being all hooked up and souped up and money thrown at it. But back then, it was looking a little bit shanty in places. So, hence Desperate Town. We went round these places, shot the video. Like 3 a.m, it was snowing. We went round with the camera and I was just wording the song all over Leicester, my hometown. So yeah, it'll always be a special place, that song, because it's it's about where I'm from.
No, baby, put out this fire. Oh, baby, you put out this fire. Baby, why you suffering time? Oh, baby, won't you put out this fire?
Let's go on to Radio Riddler. That project. So you did that with Fast, is that right?
Yeah.
And that was you've done an album that was Prince covers, but done in a reggae style. Where did that come from?
Well, we've been doing reggae remixes, mashups for a lot of bands. We've done everyone from Kanye, Coldplay, Rihanna. Done Radio Riddler versions of their songs, mashed them up using their vocal and stuff like that. we'd been doing mashups for a couple of years, and then it come to like, should we do our own album? Should we do our own thing? It was like, yeah, I remember. the whole thing come from me and him missing our flight. We were sat in Prague airport, and we were in KFC and chicken. We looked up and it was like last call, and we were like one wrong side of the airport. So by the time we got there, as we got to the window, our plane was reversing out, and we were like, oh shit. So we sat there and we were like, we should think about like possible ideas for the Riddler album then, as we sat there waiting for the next plane for like 5 hours. And it was like, yeah, what are you thinking? And Fast was like, well, there's only one, to put you in a good mood, because there's only one album we could do, really. And I was like, what album's that? He went Purple Rain. I went, no way. I said, ain't going to happen. I said, I don't want to do that. It won't work. He was like, don't be like that. It'd be great. Like, it's one of your favourite albums. I went, yeah, but I don't want to like bastardise them songs. You know what I mean? Like, so, and he was like, well, let's just try one, because I think that that record inside out. We could really do a good job on it. And I was like, okay, well, which one do you want to start with? We may as well start with the biggest one, Purple Rain. I was like, okay. So he got in the studio and he programmed some stuff, and he put some bass lines down, a couple of keys, sent it up to me. And I was like, holy shit, it really works. You know what I mean? So then I got busy up here. It wasn't in this studio, it was in our old studio. I got busy in here doing live drums, live guitars, full brass section. Then I started laying down all the vocals with like, up to 16, 17 harmonies on some of the stuff. Like, we really went to town. And then we worked on it over 3 months and finished it. And it was all done with me doing lead vocals and Naeem doing all BVs and stuff. So we did that, and we was like, right, we should shop it, because it's really good. We shop it for a deal. Yeah. So we started shopping it for a deal. And then just before we shopped for a deal, we were like, maybe we'd get more love if we asked a few big-time guest artists to come and do vocals alongside me, let's see if they want to do it. So I knew a few friends that were big Prince fans. So I initially went to them. And the first one I went to was Campbell from UB40, who's like the biggest selling reggae artist next to Bob Marley. 75 million albums he's sold.
Really?
Yeah.
Is he?
Ali's massive.
Oh man, didn't know that.
Absolutely, one of the biggest.
Yeah.
Next to Bob. And thinking that he'd say no, played it in. He just because this is awesome, Frank. I went, I know, I can't believe how good it sounds, He went, yeah, I've got to do it. And like within 2 days, he tracked it and sent it back to us.
Brilliant.
And it sounded amazing. So then it was like, all right, we're on to something here. Let's, So then I was like, who's that? I know Beverly Knight's huge Prince fan, huge. She's opened up for him at the Dome and stuff when he did the show. So asked her, she was like, yeah, cool. So we started getting them. Then we asked Madness, and then they come on board, and it was like, right, I want someone from the States. One of my favourite artists, Citizen Cope,
right,
who's awesome. Clarence, his name is. He's pretty big in the States, not so big over here, but sell the cocoa out and stuff like that. But
right.
He's an amazing singer-songwriter. Comes from a hip-hop background, but then picked up a guitar. Unbelievable. If you don't know him,
check
someone who's a singer-songwriter, you should check him out.
Okay.
Citizen Cope. And he come on board, and then I was like, I come up with this idea. It would be great to get Sinead O Connor to do it.
Because there's
nothing compares to you. And she's never done a Prince song since that. And she had an international #1 with it, which means it was #1 all over the world.
Yeah. Massive song.
Yeah. And I thought it's going to be a no. And so I went and sat with her and had a conversation with her and asked her. And she was like, yeah, play it to me. I'll have a listen, So I played it to her and she liked it. So we went in the studio together in Dublin and we tracked it. She was quite nervous, and but she was absolutely lovely to work with. A lot of people write a lot of fucked up shit about her in the press, but like she was really, really cool, really humble, really down to earth, dead delicate, great voice, and another unorthodox voice. But when you hear her, you're like,
it's her,
Sinead, And she did a great lovers rock version of it. She sang it really soft and gentle, and she sounds like so young on it. So she did that, but she was very dubious about when it comes to. She actually rang me the night before it was going to come out. She went, I'm not too sure, Frank. I don't know. And I was like, because she didn't have a good experience with Prince, You know, Prince does not like his music being covered.
Oh, right. Did you know that before you went into this project?
Yeah, but I didn't know it how much.
Right.
Until his lawyer called me. And then I knew.
Right.
But he sees all the songs that he writes as his children. So when someone messes with him, in his mind, you're messing with one of his kids.
Yeah.
Which when you put it like that, it's fucking deep. And I get it, but at the same time, you know, Prince has covered other people's songs.
Many
himself.
times.
And
He'd done the Super Bowl show. He did about 3 covers in like a 15-minute set. Yeah.
But he's very much, but I like that about him. He's, you know, he can do nothing wrong in Frank's eyes.
Yeah.
But I also find some of the stuff he does, he's messing with you all. You know, it's part of his bravado. It's part of his style. I'm sure he sits there with a smirk on his face going, can't believe they fell for that.
Yeah.
You know, like, I truly believe that. I think he's got a lot of wit and a dark sense of humour, because he must have.
So how did you get the album to be released? Like, how did it get released?
You can't stop it. You can't stop a cover.
Yeah, I didn't think
of somebody's song. There's an unwritten law that you can't, and unless you're changing all lyrics and changing all the arrangement, then they can stop it.
Had you not changed the arrangement by doing it in a reggae style?
No, the arrangement's still the same. Do them all in the same key.
Right. Okay.
Everything. So no, didn't change any lyrics. You know, so you can't really stop it. It can make it problematic, and it has been. Warner Brothers, they've tried to make it a bit problematic as well for us.
But you're not broken any.
Laws, no, we've wrote everything off. You know, we've always said, you know, it's his publishing. He wrote the songs, and there's a great tribute in that album. In the centre, as you pull the CD out, something that I wrote as a message to Prince and the reasons why we did this.
Oh, right.
You know.
Do you know if he's heard it then?
I think he's definitely heard it.
Yeah.
I had a call from his lawyer saying Prince has asked for your phone number and email because he wants to talk to you about it. And I was like, oh, great. He went, yeah, I wouldn't get excited. I don't think it'll be a particularly good phone call that you get. And I was like, oh, that's disappointing. But, you know, he said he might ring you tomorrow or he might ring you in 6 years' time. But if he says he's going to ring you, he's going to ring you.
Wow.
I was like, okay, just put the phone down.
I bet you played that conversation a few times.
Yeah, a few times. You know, I have people ask me, Prince rang you yet? It's like, no, not yet.
Wow. That's mad. And was Sinead happy with it in the end?
Yeah, I think so. She did it.
She's done a good job on it.
She did it for the love of reggae and for the love of Frank and Fast. She didn't do it for the love of Prince, but she's got, as a professional, she's got admiration for him because he's a proper artist. But she did that. She come on board really because she loves reggae music, and she liked what we were trying to do by giving it this new twist and still being respectful to it. But as far as coming on it for Prince, that she was the one that was the hardest one. Everybody else, they love Prince, you know, so they come on it straight away. And they've all been great, all the artists, because, you know, in reggae there's not a lot of money unless you're UB40 or Bob Marley.
Yeah. Cool. All right. I mean, you're obviously playing a pretty big gig next week. How do you prepare? I mean, obviously you're very experienced now, but if you're playing a very high-profile gig for many, many people, like festivals, that kind of thing, you know, you've done Glastonbury a few years ago, 2008, I think it was. What do you do with that nervous energy on the day of the gig? You know, I know you've done it a lot now, but perhaps when a bit early in your career.
Well, yeah, earlier it was, you know, you're on edge. You know, earlier in the career, you're on edge on the day. As time goes by, that kind of slips away. But it's always, you know, you're always feeling different on a show day. I don't exactly know what it is. I don't get nervous, but it's the apprehension of something fucking going wrong because there's technology. Or when the stages get big, it's massive. You know, there's lights, there's wires everywhere. You know, I'm tied to my mix. I mix my own show, so it's not just drums up there. I've got my own mixer.
Right.
You know, I've got a 6-way mix coming in my in-ears. And, you know, at any time that could go, you know, sometimes you look over and you see that crappy little power lead that's hanging out the back and you're thinking, oh my God, you know, any minute this could go wrong. But we tend now to play Frisbee before a show. That's how we get ready. I know it sounds funny, but we're really good. We're like semi-professional Frisbee throwers. We've got like all the 7 deadly throws down.
I never thought you were going to say that.
Yeah, I know.
Lovin Criminals.
We're normally backstage and, you know,
Wow.
Fast is rolling a big joint and then You know, we do a few shots of tequila and then we play frisbee before we go on. And then there's that 30-minute period where no one's allowed in the room while we're getting into our suits, and that's when we talk about the show. And
what do you? I mean, when you say you talk about the show, is that actually like decided? You know.
No, we don't really talk about show.
No.
We're normally telling jokes and
fucking about
you know, roughing each other
Yeah.
up and like, you know, talking about what film we're watching or what we're going to eat afterwards. And, you know, you don't know because we've done it for so long. You know, back in the day, we'd sit there, also the whole band, and not this band, but other bands I've been in. You sit there and you're like, going through the set list, going through this, going through that. Like, you don't think about anything like that now.
Pros now.
Yeah.
Know what you're doing. Cool.
It still goes wrong sometimes.
Yeah, what's the biggest kind of thing that has gone wrong at a live show?
The worry for me is my mixer cutting out. So if the click and the tracks stop, it's like the arse of it, you know, because we run samples and we triggers and we've got like, you know, we've got the dialogue coming.
I was going to say for Scooby Snacks and stuff like that.
Yeah,
do you cue all that then?
It's
How
all
it's on a click track.
It's on a click track.
Right. Okay.
And then we have the songs where we call them free, where we're free of the clicks and all the samples and triggers and that. And then we take my innards out, and then we play like we're a rock and roll band, and that's always a fun part of the show, you know. But yeah, it's that's the biggest worry. Sometimes the power's just completely tripped out, like the whole thing just goes. And then all you hear is an ambient drum kit that sounds really quiet when that happens, which is always kind of funny. But touch wood, that's not happened a bunch. It's probably happened 5 times in the last 16 odd years.
And I mean, do you have to rehearse much for gigs anymore? Like if you have 3 months between a gig, you just
no. We go in a whole year and
just turn up with the gig and play.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive, isn't it?
That is very impressive. Yeah.
I mean, we might do a little bit. I might get behind the kit and just and have a little blowout. You know, the day before or a couple of days before.
Yeah.
But we're always working on other stuff, so you're always kind of playing anyway.
Yeah.
You know, I'll be working on France, working on Riddler stuff, doing a remix here, or just always in the room being creative and working. So it's not like, you know, something we don't do anything for a year and then we just play. No, we're all playing. You know, he's playing at home on the guitar, Fast is in the studio on his keys and his bass, and I'm here with the drums and singing. So it's not like we just don't do anything for a year and then play. So
yeah, I just meant remember the structures of songs and stuff like that, but you just know them all.
We kind of know that if it's been a long time, we'll do one rehearsal. Rehearsal. We'll go in for the day and we'll try and blast through the set. But a lot of the time, it gets to songs and it's just like,
can we bother to play that?
We don't need to do that.
Yeah.
We don't need to play Scooby Snacks.
Yeah.
In a rehearsal, we all know how it goes, you know. And if you don't, you shouldn't be fucking doing it by now, you know. But there's 1 or 2 songs that are like, for a drummer, you gotta get your chops up, and for Fast, and you know, Fast sometimes he's playing trumpet keys and bass with bass pedals with his feet, so he needs to get his chops up, and Huey needs to get like quicker because he's not played for, you know, he'll rinse out the guitar solos. So you do them things, but only for a day. Next year we'll probably put a little bit more into it because it's 20-year anniversary, so we've got some cool ideas we're going to do. So
yes, you're playing. Where are you playing on that tour? Have you decided where you?
Yeah, it's all over. I mean, I know that all the UK's booked up now and Europe's booked up now, and then they're looking at America, South America, and Australia and stuff. So I know that England and Europe's booked up to now, taking us through to, I don't know, April-ish time, May of next year. So we'll start at the end of January and go through.
Brilliant. Oh, that's gonna be amazing. So yeah, there'll be some good gigs. And what about yourself? You say you're gonna release another Uncle Frank album October time, yeah?
Can't wait for that. Well, no, the album's going to come out in February.
So right, February, okay.
But the first single comes out at the end of October.
Okay.
Can't wait for that.
Good stuff.
Yeah, it's really, really cool.
And where can we see your music? Where can we find it?
You can go on all the Twitters, Facebooks, Instagrams, on the website. It's all Uncle Frank Music or Uncle Frank Band, and then, you know, all the relative Facebook, blah blah blah. You can find it all on there.
It's all on there. Good stuff.
But yeah, we'll be playing soon. We're looking at getting a support slot, Uncle Frank, for like near the end of the year, beginning of next year, maybe January, and getting out and playing some of this. But we'll be doing a couple of special shows, just to like launch shows, just to so you hear it. But I'm really psyched for the first single to come out. It's so cool.
Cool. What's it called?
First single's called Maximum Respect. Yeah.
Nice one.
Which we've just had an EP done for all remix. Five track EP is going to come out alongside that with remixes done by all different artists. So yeah, it's going to be wicked.
Good stuff.
It's a great album. Can't wait to. Dead out. Really happy with this one. As I was the last one, but yeah, the mixing as well has been done by Tim Latham, which is like the Uber mix master. So
it's a big 6 months for you, because so you got your album, then you're going to be doing, you got the 20th anniversary tour, and also I know that you're a massive Star Wars fan because you've got Han Solo as the name of one of your songs. And how are you feeling about the new Star Wars film coming out? Final question.
Can't wait, yeah, can't wait for that. That'd be really. I think everyone was worried about it, because of like Disney are taking it on and stuff. Is that right? Disney?
That's right, but I've got faith in J.J. Abrams.
Sick. It looked like the first trailer came out. I was like, holy shit! And then me and Fats were in New York the other month, and we were sat in a restaurant, and the guy who plays the new baddie, the new Sith Lord, he come and sat right at the side of us.
No,
Fast is the big Star Wars fan. I'm not a bit. I like it, but not on the level he likes it.
And
he was like, "Oh, Frank!" He's like kicking me under the table. Like, what? He went, "That's the fucking dude from the new Star Wars film." I went, "Really?" I went, "No." It was like me being like Midlands, not giving a show. Yo, bro, are you in the new Star Wars movie? And he was like, "Yeah, I am. Yeah, I'm not really allowed to talk about it." I was like, "All right, cool, just checking." Fast was like, "Oh yeah, nice to meet you." Is that really funny? You know what I mean? He gets all excited with Star Wars. I mean, I get all excited if I see Sly Stallone, then I get excited.
Oh, okay, it's Sly Stallone.
Yeah, I'm a Sly fan myself.
80s. There you go. 80s, yeah. Okay, well, we'll begin to wrap up. I just want to say, cheers for appearing on the StageLeft podcast. Thanks for giving your insights. There's going to be a lot of young musicians listening to this, so it's great to hear. Great to hear all your stories and stuff, and we look forward to all your future releases. Yeah, no, cool. I hope anything that I've said has helped any young budding musicians or people that want to get into the business. I mean, everything's so accessible now for everybody. I'm sure they can research a lot of do's and don'ts, but I mean, for any young musician that's out there, you should. My tip is to always be true to yourself, because you don't want to turn back one day and go, God, everything I did, I was pushed into doing it that way and that way and that way. Do what you want to do first and foremost. Say yes to everything. That's another good one. Say yes to everything. Because then if you get yourself double booked and that, you're just going to have to let somebody down. But life's full of letting people down. But say yes to everything. Keep more than one egg in your basket. There's the tips from Frank. Great advice, and good luck when you get that call from Prince. Yeah, I'll need it by the sounds of it. Good luck. All right, thanks for appearing, Frank. Nice one. No worries. Frankie, do it. Are you cool? Running around, robbing banks away from the super snake. Running around, robbing banks away from the super snake. One more time, y'all. Running around, robbing banks away from the super snake. For more episodes featuring musicians who've worked with the likes of Fleetwood Mac, Bob Dylan, The Beatles, Michael Jackson, Elvis Presley, The Prodigy, Oasis, go to www.thestageleftpodcast.com, follow us on Twitter @TheStageLeftPod, or like us on Facebook at facebook.com/TheStageLeftPodcast. See you next time.